Hello everyone and welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host on AEW Tuesdays, Dougie Doug. In today's episode I'm going to be discussing Dynamite December 27, 2023 edition. The final episode of Dynamite in the year 2023. The Go Home and the Go Home show for World's End coming up this Saturday. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Gold League final, Jon Moxley versus Strickland versus Jay White. And Moxley defeated Strickland and White at the top of the show, cashing his ticket to World's End Saturday night. The former world champion overcame a knee injury to outlast his two opponents. As he has done countless times, Moxley showed great tenacity en route to picking up the win. The match was good and felt like a pay-per-view quality main event to kick things off. The energy was there, the crowd was red hot, and the combatants brought aggression to their performances. With that said, it is understandable to feel like Moxley winning was the least interesting choice to win here. Sure, he is one of the faces of the company and one of the more decorated competitors in the history of AEW, but he wins more than he does not, or he wins more than he loses. And both White and Strickland have been trending upwards with recent momentum. It would not have done any damage to Moxley's credibility had he lost the match. But given who won the Blue League final, it makes sense why they picked him. So Strickland is certainly riding his own little wave of momentum with the crowd, where they are cheering for him. And also, the crowd likes Eddie Kingston too. So rather than do Strickland versus Kingston, instead you pick out a guy like Moxley and put him against Kingston, and the dynamic just kind of fits a little bit better than the one between dynamic between Strickland and Kingston. Speaking of which, Blue League final, Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson, and these guys put together a great conclusion to the Continental Blue League, or Continental Classic Blue League, won by Kingston following a series of spinning back fist and a Kawada-inspired powerbomb. Kingston overcame a match full of verbal insults and mind games, showing the toughness and resilience that has long been a part of his DNA. He withstood devastating offense and stayed in the fight. The crowd was behind him, invested in the story and his pursuit of not only retaining his titles, but also adding the Continental crown to his resume. And it helped fueled Kingston in this match. The match was action-packed and dramatic. It featured some great selling from Kingston. In the end, the fans' emotional investment in Kingston was rewarded in the form of a win over Danielson. And this was a solid example of an intensely physical match meshing with a storyline that's easy to follow and care about. Kingston will now enter Saturday's World End pay-per-view for a match with his friend and rival, Jon Moxley, and that one should be good, if not great. Statlander versus Sky Blue, and Sky Blue became the first person in the 2 years to score a pinfall victory on Statlander, but did it under less than honorable means. Blue withstood the power-based offense of her opponent, but found herself really late. Julia Hart went run interference, leveling Statlander and setting up Blue's monumental victory. After the match, a beatdown would ensue for a 9-kill mid-save. Abaddon then made an appearance and kind of just stood on the ramp, and Blue and Hart would retreat out the side. Booking Blue and Hart as partners is a great call, and that there are enough storyline threads out there for them to explore, including a feud with the aforementioned Nightingale. They have the potential to be central figures in programs, both involving and not involving championship gold. More importantly, they are young, and the more reps they get on television and singles or tag team action, the better. A solid match from Blue against Statlander is a great place to start, and she gets a win too, so even better right there. So in conclusion, the instant classic out of Danielson and Kingston made this show a thumbs up on a grading scale of thumbs up, sideways, and down. The rest of the broadcast did a solid job of building up a World's End show that was thrown together most at the last minute, despite a closing segment that landed with a thud. A good show in the bubble. It'll be interesting to see exactly what goes down Saturday night and how Tony Khan builds on it moving forward. The creative has been lacking lately, but World's End has potential to provide a sort of reset. Hopefully the company takes advantage of it, because there are a lot of pieces to create interesting stories and matches around. So yeah, not a big fan of that show, Close and Angle. That's why I didn't really put a slide here for it. I mean, Samoa Joe doesn't need to work with the double. He's a destroyer on his own. So if he's, I don't know. And plus, there was no reveal as to who the double was, or at the very least who the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions are. So clearly this was a poorly put together segment. It lacks logic, and also given the fact that AEW basically ran this segment like right at the top of the hour for the show close, which for me would be 9 o'clock. I live in Central Time, so it would have been 9 o'clock. Literally, this match started at like 9 o'clock. So I knew it was just going to be a rush to get to the finish. And boy, was it rushed, and boy, was it terrible. And, yeah, so I don't know how people feel about World's End. I mean, granted, I'm still going to watch the pay-per-view, and I don't feel obligated to do so. I'm watching it because I am intrigued to see how it does play out, what decisions Tony Khan does make, and, what Dynamite the next Wednesday afterwards looks like. Yeah, and I don't think there's an episode of Collision this week. It doesn't appear so, which I guess, is smart. I don't know if there wasn't a way for them to move it up to Friday night, but probably for the best to just kind of forego it for this week and then, bring it back the next Saturday. And with that will conclude this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below.